Do you think that disregarding science would make the hypothesis for God more believable? I am just putting it out there. You did call all the people at CERN and NASA, maybe I heard you wrong, but you called them Satanists.
Well, I mentioned that.
Can you give me a definition of Satanism?
I wish I could remember his name. That was probably wrong to just say a blanket of, a blanket statement for everyone. And I obviously don't really mean that. I just know that there was one man that's one of the head scientists that was more of a Satanist.
You realize that the Church of Satan doesn't believe in Satan, right?
What do they believe in? Just no God.
It's a humanist. It's more of a humanist, hedonistic practice, and pro me, it's actually very, very liberal in terms of.
I'm pretty sure the reason why they made it a religion is they tried to use it to have religious exemption from I think abortion bans. But I might be wrong.
Oh, they were trying to come in on the abortion issue. I know that's one of the ones they have used it, but I don't know if that was the original impulse. But that would be interesting to find out.
I heard that's why some people joined Satanism. They don't believe in Satan. It's like an alternative movement.
Yeah, very few people do. I'm amused, frankly, by the fact that they call themselves Satanists as opposed to anything else, because they don't believe in Satan. So it's some of them seem to just to enjoy the fact that it bothers some people, which is not a real nice personality feature either. But that's what they are. So don't take them literally as Satanists unless you verify that. There are a few who actually do,
and maybe
there's a very small minority.
I'm pretty sure some people are also under the belief that CERN is satanic or anti-Christian or something, because CERN I think has a statue of Shiva the Destroyer. I think they have a Hindu deity outside, and I don't know why they put it up there, but it's not because they hate God. I think they put it up there because of. I can just quick look it up.
It's interesting something about
the Shiva is
location.
It's a Hindu god. That's not Satan then. That's another god from another religion.
Some Christians will.
Apollyon. It's like Apollyon something. And something about the location of CERN is significant too. I don't remember enough about it, but. And to your question, I feel like God, because God to me I feel like science would more prove God than not prove God, actually.
Well, why don't we just let it either do it or not? Why would you want to say it proves it? Just let it happen, and it'll either prove or go against. And
if there's truly we're talking about a creator. If there's truly the all-powering God that I believe, then of course we're going to be not of his mindset. He created the things. And so of course me and you have only lived on this earth for how long? 50, 60 years?
65 years here.
Okay, that's not a long time in the scheme of things.
Nope.
And so we're still figuring it out, and we're about to die. Seriously,
maybe 20 years.
A lot.
We do know quite a bit. We can be confident in a lot of things. Like how I just looked up why there's a Shiva statue outside of CERN, and it's because India was celebrating their involvement with CERN. I think
that makes perfect sense. That's the funny thing about a lot of these explanations. We sometimes get trapped in these mysterious implications, and it's just it's something really simple and obvious like that. It's
I was saying from what I heard, so some of the scientists say that they were looking for not just the God particle, which they found, like you said, but like a I hate to say portal, but it's another word kind of for it.
Like
what's it called? A dimension. Dimensions. Yes, other dimensions.
But what about that? What about that exactly entails Satanism or anti-God rhetoric?
What does that bring it? Why does that bring that about?
Do you know what wormholes are?
I feel like people.
I don't that. Actually. If you could just say what they are, that'd be awesome. I love learning.
Wormholes are. I don't think we've ever found one, but the concept, the mathematical concept, is it allows you to jump from one point in space to another, independent of the distance between them. It's kind of like going into a black hole and then coming out from another black hole. And it could be like light years apart. So it has nothing about going into different realms or something like that, Paige. It has actually transportation within a universe. I suppose somebody has a hypothesis of going to other universes. I don't know offhand, but none of that implies going to a gate to hell or any kind of thing like that.
Yeah, I believe it's the same principles. I believe that's the same principles of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, saying like you can have an electron at one point in space and have it light years away somewhere, and they could essentially be in interchange or be in the same electron.
Well, if I'm not wrong, I mean I may be wrong, but I thought they had actually opened, did feel like they opened a dimension.
No,
that's misinformation about their particle accelerator.
Oh, okay.
They've never created a wormhole. The analogy that they show when you look at textbooks, it's like if this was flat space, and you have to travel from here to here, you can only go like across like that. But if you create a wormhole, essentially you have a bending of space-time, and you can go from like here to here by some wormhole that appears between them.
I love that you always got like those little papers and pictures that like it's awesome because I can visually see everything that you explain. It's awesome.
Thank you. I try, and I keep collecting more and more slides, making more and more slides to help these explanations. So it's like after last night, we were talking about that monkeys. Why are there still monkeys, right? So now I have a slide based on that for the next time it comes up. Anyways,
you mentioned you mentioned like, why does that have to be like? Why is that amazing? Like, why does it have to be like this huge thing, right? You kind of alluded to that. Do you get what angle I'm trying to come from?
No.
What exactly? What thing did we say that was amazing?
I forget the words you said, but the concept of I'm assuming sort of like-minded people have come across the same as your channel ish. Would say like, that thing is not really amazing. Doesn't like prove God, right?
I'm saying it's the concepts are not related. Because if you use a wormhole to travel from, you've seen science fiction shows that use wormholes to travel, right? Like Deep Space Nine, boof, the wormhole opens up and then they go to the Delta Quadrant, which is whatever, hundreds of light years away. And they put the Voyager over there, the spaceship that couldn't get back because the wormhole closed, right? So you've seen that concept. But the idea, the way Sophia uses the word portal, to me, implies, maybe I'm misinterpreting Sophia, and correct me if I am, it seems to imply, a pathway to hell, like a portal to hell kind of a thing.
I believe that was Paige, but I get what you're saying.
Paige, sorry.
Did I say the word hell? I just meant dimensions.
No, you didn't. So that's why I'm saying correct me if I'm misinterpreting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, because I think it was just something that we might have accidentally put two and two together because you brought up Satanism and then CERN, and we know what CERN's been doing, so.
Yeah.
I guess I'll be more direct. I was just saying, like, this concept of, like, this observation in reality, this phenomena, right? This is, how could it, theists would say, "Oh, this like maybe proves God." I don't know how far they would go, but and then atheists would say, "Well, just because this thing is like does what it does doesn't mean it's special and it proves God." Sort of this argumentation.
It doesn't relate to the concept. I don't see that the concepts are related. That's what I was saying.
No. I don't mean your
would
example
an example
specifically,
be like
or anything
fine-tuning?
that you said. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, believe in reality. I wasn't saying your example. Just a generic example that I've heard from people. X concept, right? Like, take anything and plug that in, and no, this is not special. It's just how it is, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the things seem to be mysterious, and people have explanations like powers and demons and metaphysics and whatever, and then very often we figure out what the real answers are, but that those other explanations and beliefs don't seem to disappear, which is the peculiar thing about understanding human psychology of why we don't give up on ideas so easily.
I mean, I could bring up like an example that like kind of disproves fine-tuning. Like when people say, well, like Paige, I think earlier brought up, like, oh, there's a car, and we know that cars have a maker. But the thing is we don't have another example of a universe that we know of. So there's no real way, like, to say that there is a maker. And also,
there's no real way of knowing that it could have been a different way too. This could be the only way universes can be.
What about AI? We're kind of the creators of AI, and that's another form of intelligence. And one could argue that it could possibly take on its own consciousness at one point.
Exactly, and that's where CERN, because didn't the
that's an example of how sentience can be created without a deity.
And didn't the World Wide Web, wasn't it created in the 90s or 89 at CERN, through CERN?
No,
I think it did.
I think it precedes that, but I mean, the World Wide Web was created to allow scientists to communicate, and CERN, you're right, CERN was one of the places, but that was only a piece of a broader...
Well, I think it didn't. It wasn't released to the public until 90 or 92.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Something like that.
Can I take it back to what you just said? So you said that you said something just then, and it made me think. So I said that AI is created by intelligent design, right? Us, and you were saying that it doesn't mean that it's some deity, right?
Right, because we're not deities.
Right, but life is pretty complex, and so is AI, and you would argue that life is astronomically more complex. So how do you disprove the intelligent design like theory, because you just admitted yourself
because we can understand complexities.
Yeah, that's I use a lot more words to get my point across.
We can understand to a certain extent.
To a degree.
And then the science, which changes.
You got to recognize we're always limited to where we are at the moment. So you've got to give some
but can't you,
based on our track record and our trajectory of progress.
So, but if AI was created by an intelligent being, wouldn't we have been created by another intelligent being? It doesn't have to be like, God as the Christians view it. But
I can see the intuitive logic there, but at this point it looks like it wasn't. It is in the 21st century. We know enough that it looks like we're kind of headed to understanding abiogenesis. So we understand to a large degree how we got here.
And if a deity did create us, like the thing is with like Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, the thing is that these supposed deities have scripture that we can look at, and we can rule out those deities through logical and historical contradictions, and also scientific contradictions.
Okay, well, say that because those things that we read that the deities gave us into the Abrahamic faiths, say that there was a communication issue and say that some of those words weren't communicated or translated perfectly right, I mean, you kind of can nitpick, glob of blood clot or bones were formed and then the flesh was wrapped around it. Like, those words can be kind of misconstrued, but regardless of which faith brought
the problem
those...
here is that all Abrahamic beliefs believe in an all-powerful God, so there's not really room for a communication error. If a God's all-powerful, he can communicate things clearly and concisely.
Yeah, but humans don't. That's the problem.
You don't think that he could have communicated, like, the simple process of, like, human reproduction to a person?
Yeah, I think that he did to the person, but then when the person obviously had to take it from their minds and write it onto a piece of paper, like, this is before they knew about science. And
the diagrams are pretty off. Like, the human imagination's a pretty dang good thing, and I don't really see that. I don't see why there's so much error here. And also, like, it doesn't like, I have a thing where it doesn't seem to be true, like, with all the evidence that we have now, and it's kind of safe to assume that it's just not the case that
are you talking
Abrahamic
about?
gods.
So what's the evidence? What's biogenesis?
You don't know about abiogenesis? Oh, he's probably got a picture for it.
Well, I have that reference of Origin of Life book. Yeah, it's a field that is...
I've heard the name, but I've never had it explained or haven't looked it up.
Well, look up, this is just something you're going to have to look up too, or there's a lot of Origin of Life research. Basically, the concept, the belief right now is that amino acids formed into short chain proteins, if you want to call them proteins, because they're anything from like 6 and 8 to, I think a couple of hundred. I think we're up to a couple hundred at this point. But we've seen self-replication of these molecules, and the self-replication is the part that is basically the step that you need to have to eventually get to life, right?
Yeah, I'm also pretty sure some scientists did an experiment where they simulated what early Earth would have been, and they had like stuff like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, all the stuff that goes into the building of amino acids, lipids, all that stuff. Yeah. And then they added some stimulation, and they saw that lipids and other molecules formed that were like organic life.
Well, you're referring to the Miller-Urey experiment where they put, you're right, the CO2 has carbon in it, and water and methane. I think it was the third one, because there's nitrogen source, right? Because nitrogen is most of the atmosphere even today. So
yeah, this is
that resulted into amino acids, and we found amino acids all over the universe. I mean, all over the universe. We found amino acids in other moons and in comets and I don't know about comets, asteroids.
So I'm familiar with proteins and actually protein chemistry. The amino acids. I'm assuming you're specifically talking about protein folding.
No. I'm not even getting up to that point, because for protein, I'm not even talking about like hundreds of amino acids long proteins. I'm talking about just to be able to get to the point where something can self-replicate, can duplicate itself. That's one of the turning points, and they've seen that on small chain, like 10 amino acid long kind of things. The folding, the protein folding gets more into function, and that comes later as they interact with each other.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. 10 or less, you get a peptide, 10 or less, and you're talking about the condensation reaction between the amide and the carboxylic acid to generate the chain, or?
I don't know. that I don't know. I mean, once you've got something that's short that can self-replicate, you can have effects of folding and things because, two things can stabilize each other, for example, and because remember way back then when we're only talking about these little tiny chains, we don't have enzymes yet, right? Because enzymes are proteins that are like hundreds of molecules long. So you have to have a process that allows for self-replication. Essentially, they're self-enzymatic. So there's research. There's lots of research along that because that's where the big gap is right now. All the stuff
dreaming.
That comes later.
Dream. I'm gonna have to. Yeah. Are you getting in your car and you're starting to drive?
No, I'm not. Actually, I'm outside now. I'm no longer.
You're good.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
So.
It should be a lot better, actually.
Yeah, you're very good right now.
Yeah, we just got to be careful because of TikTok, TOS.
Yeah.
Is there on quality of signal or something? In terms of service, what do they refer to?
TikTok doesn't like people driving while on lives.
Okay. Thank you for informing me on that.
I'm not.
Okay.
So I guess so negating the function aspect, it's talking about short under 10, and then the side chains is this like like back then, like you're talking about carbon, like CO2, nitrogen fixation, organic small molecules being formed. So is this peptides? It's essentially without the chain.
Well, anything that has multiple amino acids, that's a peptide chain, right? Once you get to 2 and 3, it's a chain, right? So I'm not talking anything more complex than just a sequence of whatever 6. I mean, and who knows if it has a chain to it? I don't have that much level of detail of knowledge in this field. That's why I throw this up here.
So that's kind of what I came in saying, just studying more about DNA and all that.
I mean, I have articles on it. I collect articles, but there's so many I can't read them. To be perfectly honest, I've got thousands of articles on psychology and everything. I could probably, if you gave me half an hour, I could probably pull up about 30 or 40 articles on origin of life research. But the one that I like to refer people to is the Abiogenesis Facebook page, because he puts up posts daily on new findings and new hypotheses and articles and stuff and diagrams, and he's really the social media source of information to the lay public.
It's really cool that we learned. It's really cool that we learned all this stuff because it's showing that it's not unfeasible to think that organic matter came from non-organic matter.
It's an amazing thing to know. I mean, understanding where we came from is very cool.
Yeah, and if they taught this, if they taught taught this to me when I was in maybe 5th grade middle school, I probably would have deconstructed a lot sooner.
Yeah, interestingly, in Germany, they actually teach organic chemistry I think in the high school or pre-high school level.
See this.
And it
is a Facebook that did come across.
Yeah.
Abiogenesis, The Origin of Life is a public Facebook group. Oh wait, that's a different one. All right, well you've got multiples then. I just joined that one, but that's not the one I was thinking of.
So the major premise is these peptide linkages, the first forms of life from this.
Well, that is way down the chain in terms of sequence, right? Because you have to, of course, you have replication, and then you have to trap them. So we know that lipids, free-flowing lipids, will combine into essentially something that's analogous to a cell membrane, right? So now you've got some way to protect it from the outside world, which is to say it'll protect it from other salts and pHs and things like that to prevent everything from breaking down so quickly. So you've got cell membranes, you've got short proteins, you've got the ability to duplicate short proteins, and then it just gets more and more complex over a long time. I mean, it took a couple 100 million years, so you got some working time. So look, this guy that I say is it looks like it's a personal profile called Abiogenesis. He's a scientist. He's got 9.9 thousand followers.
Okay, so this is sort of pre-advanced biology.
It's precursors, because that's why we don't talk about cells, because we're talking about proto-cells. We talk about things that eventually would become cells, but at this point it's like the simpler versions of it. Remember I just said about lipids coming together, right, where you have a hydrophilic end and a hydrophobic end. So that still doesn't, you need more than that to have a cell membrane, because you have to pass things through it, right? So you have to develop pores and things like that, and there's hypotheses about how that came to be, and etc. Because if you isolate completely from the outside world, then you're not going to do anything either, right?
Yeah, I remember they have explanations for mitochondria, nitrogen fixation, to sort of like how bacteria, they can implant and build amino acids from actually a fat cycle, like a lipid cycle, instead of how we take it from meat and stuff like that by fixating nitrogen.
Yeah.
Same like how plants do, basically.
And mitochondria is an interesting concept, because what are mitochondria? They have their own DNA, and basically they're just protein producing factories, right? So they seem to, then the idea was that they self-existed through this, somewhere up the chain, whatever, 100,000 steps up the chain, and that got incorporated into other cells, and that turned into the protein factory for other cells. So it allowed cells to get more complex, because you make more proteins, you can do more things, you can have more organelles. Those become the building blocks for other parts of the cell.
Yeah. Now, how we do this is we do a retrosynthesis. So basically, we take our models that we have now, like for the mitochondria. The model is, we know that nitrogen oxide, NO, the gas, can actually be a signaler to membranes. We think with it had something to do with mitochondria in the way that, same how like the heme molecule, or the heme protein binds oxygen, like O2 or even CO.
For everybody else, heme is the molecule that carries the iron in our blood. The part of heme.
Yes. Hemoglobin.
Hemoglobin, yeah.
And since nitrogen is an important building block, they think that NO, just nitrogen and oxygen, they think that is that's the gas responsible for fixating nitrogen in these complex systems.
Yeah. And this is where we are, though. Again, it's 21st century, but on this particular subject, we're at this very simplistic level, right? We're just learning, we're finding pieces of the puzzle, but we haven't been able to put them together yet, because it is such a long, complicated thing that's probably millions of steps of evolutionary progress long.
And missing pieces. We can do a retro. We know the steps to get to where we're at, but we don't know the particulars and how. Not from the very beginning, like you were saying, pre-biology, but like the reactions to get pretty far into what we have now. We can understand how that can happen, but when you go further back, basically, when two things collide and these things meet up and they start forming a single-celled organism or whatever, that's very hard to deduce and see experimentally and stuff.
Yeah, and then for that, you remind yourselves of what intelligence design people say, that you don't take things and you don't take a whirlwind and create an airplane, because that's not how it works. You take a simple membrane and you make it a tiny bit more complicated in some way, and then you do that that happens a million times over, and see progress. And of course, there's some sort of natural selection that goes on there, which is, we call this chemical evolution. Because a certain type of protein may be more soluble in another protein, or they may fold in a certain way that hooks up with another one, and it keeps it more stable, and all these different variables. Go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, how I talked about, Scripture, and how sometimes I feel like science is a secondary to what God already made. And one of the little scriptures, that Genesis 2:1, says, "Thus the heavens and the earth and all of the hosts in them were finished." Like the creation was finished. And there's another verse that says, "There's nothing new under the sun." And what's interesting about that is even the cycle of air currents, if scientists didn't really discover those till, I don't know, gosh, how long.
Well, we knew about that.
And even like the water and how it recycles, I don't think that was discovered until like the 17th century, as far as the water cycles. And the Bible will tell you all the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full to the place from which the rivers come, and they return again. Ecclesiastes 1:7. This, and it's pretty profound, but considered with other biblical passages, it becomes all the more kind of remarkable, because like the Mississippi River dumps I don't know, billion gallons of water every 24 hours into the Gulf of Mexico. But what I'm saying is, like, I feel like a lot of it, he calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. And the idea of the complete water cycle was not fully understood, to the 17th century, meaning, some of this was here.
But think about what these people would have known at the time, right? I mean, because they didn't have science classes, obviously. They see rain, they see water flowing down into the water, into the ocean, and then going back up into clouds and stuff. Well, I don't know if they knew it went back up.
Well, they would have seen fog.
Yeah.
Probably up to a certain point.
You could come up with these descriptions. I'm trying to find the one page. You don't remember which one it was in Genesis where they say that?
Oh, the one I just said. Which one? I said like 2 or 3 of them.
About the water cycle.
Genesis 1:2.
But that statement, the statement that you were saying.
Hold on one second.
There's nothing new under the sun.
What?
Oh, sorry. Go.
Genesis 1 what?
I think it's 1:2. I need to look it up. I just kind of
I've got it in front of me, so I'm trying to find it. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. Okay.
Well, the problem.
So that makes no sense, because we've got like darkness.
The wind. There's one.
The problem.
Genesis 2:1. I'm sorry.
2:1. All right.
About the finished creation. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dumble.
Just like the problem with, like, you're talking about the creation, and also you're bringing up all these things. Like, the problem with all of this is that it follows human observation anyway.
Yeah.
Like we have to, if you literally, like what he was reading about the waters, like, we know that space is not water. Like, he separated the waters of the heaven and the earth. We know that there isn't a firmament.
Right.
I don't know. That's.
We know that the earth isn't flat, because
there's no firmament.
The Bible claims the earth to be shaped like the clay under a seal.
Yes, a stamp. That's right. And see, that shows it's kind of flat according to biblical standards. I feel like, I don't know.
Wait, but
and then he sets the earth on four pillars that it shall not be moved.
I need to ask. I do need to ask. What do you mean by flat in a biblical standard?
Meaning, like you just said, there is a scripture that says the earth is like, how does it say? A stamp to play.
What is the shape of a seal?
A stamp to play, and when you stamp, when you stamp clay, it's flat, right? And the earth, the land around it, is like pops up, right? Like in the stamp. That's how he actually describes it in the scripture. And he says, I put the earth on 4 pillars that it shall not be moved. And see, think about it. There was people that worship the sun back forever ago. So if you talk about us spinning around a million miles in this black galaxy.
That's kind of a fallacy there. Like, that's like you're bringing up like an absurdity that you think is absurd to
well, we were taught this, so you need to question it. I mean, actually.
What were we taught? What are we being taught exactly?
We have been taught since you were born that's how, and I've believed it too. I mean,
believed what?
It still could be. I can't finger point that it's completely wrong, but I'm just saying
believe what?
Believe what? Believe anything other than what you have been told.
No. Okay.
With the earth, with the earth.
Are you just trying to dodge? Or I don't want to sound like vicious and like I don't want to sound like I'm attacking you, but it sounds like you're trying to dance around saying that you think the Earth is flat.
Well, I didn't say that I didn't believe that. I actually think it. I already admitted that biblically, I feel like it is more flat. It was flat. Actually.
Yeah.
And actually, they thought it was flat a long, long time ago. I can't remember the years.
Yeah, but now we know it isn't.
Yeah.
But you don't know that for sure. You only know that because you were taught that.
We actually do know for sure.
We have satellites. We've got thousands and thousands of satellites that can take pictures, and we've been up in space, so we've been to other planets.
Well, a few of them actually act like they've only been in lower space.
Okay, once you're up in the lowest orbit a satellite will be, you can see the roundness of the planet. This is what orbits are. We go around it.
I'd also like to thank Rhea for all the gifts. Because I can't put up a little heart, I gotta thank
You're amazing. I mean, it's like every time.
That's awesome.
Every single time.
Do you know that NASA in Hebrew means to deceive?
It does not.
It does.
It does not.
It does.
Oh, no, you don't want me to look it up because I will. I don't really stand for misinformation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody has apparently their own information. I mean, just like you can say there's not a God, you can't prove there's not a God.
Wait. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Okay. I'm sure they were not trying to hide some sort of demon worship greater plan there. Those are just normal.
And also, we literally have a video of a camera being shot up into the air 300,000 feet, and we can see the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about the people with these cameras that show, and pilots that say that's flat, and all the
pilots
literally need to take into account the curvature of the Earth to fly.
They actually said some of them say
and snipers, like snipers, people who fire across great distances, like we're talking, like 5 miles. Also need to take into account the curvature of the Earth. We also in architecture we also need to take into account the curvature of the Earth, because there was this bridge that we built and we didn't, and it like warped and wobbled and just completely crumbled, and luckily didn't kill anybody, unalive anybody, but we know that the Earth is not flat.
Okay.
It's just not something. It's not something.
That's something. And I'm not gonna lie. I would have never, ever even questioned it. Ever. I didn't think so either. I would think, oh no, that's one thing. I will, whatever. Well,
that's something that the Bible.
I went researching, and
that's something the Bible gets wrong.
It proves my point to when I say that the Bible follows human observation.
But what is not human observation? That's all science. Everything's written by men. So, how can you sit there and say that for one of the oldest books there is? Actually. There's not much you can say. It's just what you believe, what I believe.
Some observations are better than others.
Wait. It's not just what we believe, Paige. It's what has been shown to be true according to experiments. Rhea, you're just going nuts over here. I love this. Thank you. So, every little piece of information we have from science has been experimentally shown to be correct. And it's the collection of all these things. One discovery leads to implies something else, and that leads to the next discovery. And it progresses and builds. This is how technology has progressed and
also, it would be pretty bad if the Earth was flat, because gravity compresses
level, right?
stuff. No, it's not, because low tides and high tides happen in different places. Like, low tides and high tides happen at the same time, so water is not level. But let me continue what I was saying. It would be bad if the Earth was flat, because gravity, it goes towards center of mass. So if the Earth was flat, it would anyway slowly crumple up into a ball. And that would, kind of decimate all of the human population.
Well, science used to actually think that the Earth was center of all things.
Okay. Well, see, we've moved on, Paige, so let's please move on from this. We know the Earth is not flat. It's 2024. Let's move on, please, from that particular subject.
I just want to chime in and say that how much I love Paige, and I'm a Southern woman too, and I think you're just such a sweetheart.
Thank you.
She is. I agree.
I have a friend.
I'm gonna follow you, Paige.
You have more than one. But we just disagree
it takes some bravery to actually say stuff like this, and I actually have looked into things, so I'm not just blabbing. I wouldn't just say it. Not meaning I think I'm concrete, but I just feel like it's something to go really research.
Well, anyways, I think we should try to head back to the main topic, which is,
bring it back.
If we deny science, it doesn't make, if we're looking at it, if we deny science, it will allow God of the Gaps to be more usable. It's been shown. Reality has already brought it up. Humans have, or just Phil. My bad.
Yeah,
I didn't even see that. Phil's already brought up that humans will attribute things they don't understand to a divine or spiritual power, or just supernatural, like Thor and Zeus for lightning. And then we also have a ton of sea gods, Poseidon and whatever the Norse one was. They have 10 of them. I can't remember, but they 100% believed in that. And you were bringing up that science, we used to believe certain things that we now know not to be true. The same thing happens religiously.
That's a very good point.
We have multiple accounts of certain religions dying out. We have the ancient Sumerian religions. We have Assyrian religions. We got the Mayans. Well, I think some people still practice Mayan traditions and all that, but we see this as a trend of religions rising up and then falling down, and that follows with nations being conquered and or populations dying out to disease or just political strife. It's a trend that we see.
So do you think we're just a amount of flesh, we're not spiritual? at all?
Yep.
That's my belief, yes.
What about my husband told me that there's like scientists on other sides of the planet that have discovered the same thing at the same exact time. Is that just like coincidence? And it's happened like multiple times.
Say by the minute.
That would be. If something is to be discovered, it could be discovered certainly by different people.
Especially when we have so many scientists. If multiple scientists study the same thing in the same field, just because they're on two different sides of the planet doesn't really... do you have an example of this occurring? Because, I'm not saying that if this is true, it somehow,
I'm sure.
It actually happened with me. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not saying you can read into this.
It's just be interesting to know. I like learning things.
But it's kind of hard to read into and try to correlate something from it. It's pretty difficult.
Remember here too, because when something is discovered, the next thing that it implies is fairly obvious. If Einstein hadn't have come up with his equations, somebody else would have within about 5 years, right? And same sort of thing with Darwin. It was there was another guy who kind of came up with those ideas first. Darwin had the same ideas, but then he published first, so he got credit for it. But once you sort of, science is always working on the foundation of the ones before it. Once you get to here, that implies this thing up here, and pretty soon someone's going to discover this. So, it could be that there's 12 people working on it in 12 different places. One of them's going to get to it, or two of them may discover it in the same month and then compete to see who gets their paper out first so that they get the credit or whatever.
And I would have to ask, how is two people discovering the same thing exactly?
Miss Page said that she was talking about spiritual and whether or not he believes in spiritual stuff, and it just made me think of coincidence and how a lot of God working in my life, it looks like coincidences just happening. And I don't think there are coincidences. I think little things can be coincidence maybe, but I think that big things being coincidence isn't. I think that's God working, but it doesn't prove anything. It just made me think of that,
It is. Just think if all we had was science, are we going to be happy with that? Does that take us into?
I'm pretty happy.
Eternal.
Well, Paige, it's like
life.
If we're both, and I think we are, because I think it was you, maybe not, who said that we're interested in what's true and knowing true things and figuring out truth, right?
Right.
I think that's fairly universal. So it would be better if we kind of all progressed on the same road, but we don't, unfortunately, because there seem to be other factors that go into how people come to beliefs and how people hold beliefs, which we're learning a lot more about. Rhea, you're like working on something here. She's working you're working on a gift or pay something. Tag or something. I've got it. Okay. I'm learning TikTok still, so. Anyways.
So what about the beginning of time? So there's the law of physics that says that nothing can come from nothing, so how do you explain that if there's nothing? And then didn't we find out in, I don't know what field of science that is, but didn't we find out that the universe is expanding from one point? So it obviously came.
That's a weird concept because the one point is actually everywhere in the universe.
I was about to say
contradictory sort of thing. But there's an expansion. We don't know what initiated the expansion. We call that time zero because we just count back from current day. but it doesn't actually mean that was the beginning. It could have actually always existed, or it could have cycled from a previous universe or popped off from another universe. We actually don't know. So we don't know that it didn't come. Well, I don't think we have any evidence that something came from nothing. It just seems like the beginning of the universe was not nothing. There seems to have been quantum fields at the very least.
I'm also under the belief that time is not something that can be created, because creation requires time, because creation is a change of states, and creation requires a start, during, and after.
Yeah.
Like the creation of the universe, are you saying?
No, just time. Time. And so the thing is with time is you can't have a start of time, because you would have to create time, and you need time to create time.
Yeah, and I have actually a very similar belief, Dumble, that if we take the idea that God is outside of time and space, which is what some people say, then that deity, that being, can't do anything. So if you don't have time, you cannot make change from one moment to the next, because there are no moments. All the deity can do is exist. So you can't even have a creator. In the same, which is kind of another way of saying exactly what you said. It's like if you don't have time, if you define a realm where there is no time, all it can do is exist or not exist. That's it. Because that's what time means. It means a shift. It means there's some difference.
Yeah, but if there's another dimension beyond ours, then the laws of time and your way of thinking about time is different, you know.
It could be, and that's where I say you put these hypotheses on the table. At the very least, the only thing that does, because we don't know which of these hypotheses is true, is that it just demonstrates that the God hypothesis is not the only one. So when people go to say it has to be a God, it has to be the conscious God, it has to be the Christian God, no, it doesn't. We could come up with probably 1,000.
Is there other hypotheses besides like the Big Bang or creation?
Yeah, I can give you half a dozen right now.
Some people believe in advanced aliens and stuff.
It could be that it's a cyclical universe, that once it gets to minimum entropy, it bangs again, so that it just repeats and repeats. It could be that there was a creator, but it was a non-sentient creator, that the creating universe is a function of the laws of the natural multiverse. It could be that a creator existed who had no interest in humanity, and we're just sort of a side effect of the laws of physics that it put into being. It could be a creator that whose metaphysical nature is to create universes and then cease to exist. All of these are on the table, and on top of that, you get every single hypothesis that physics comes up with, string theory and whatever else.
There are, even Hinduism, there's thousands of gods. So there's lots of gods per se. But there is one God.
Well, there may be no gods, which is another hypothesis.
I mean, Phil, are you agnostic?
Agnostic atheist, yes.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would say that I'm I'm not an agnostic atheist, I'm just an atheist, because I just think that the concept of a god, or a god concept, it doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, what if we trim that god concept down to just the initiator of the Big Bang?
Well, if we get into the definition of God, if we add any divinity to it, that would just be an advanced mind.
The way I used to think about it, before I found Islam, actually, was I thought about it I used to call it the source, and I would say, okay, that there was the source of energy that we don't know what it is or how it's functioning in our universe, and we don't know if there's other like levels of dimension that we can't see or that we don't know about, but that it created something, right? Because we're all here and we're all walking around like looking out of our own eyeballs.
It could be there is no source. Also, it could be that our universe always existed, and it just changes phases. That the what we call the Big Bang is basically a phase shift or something like that.
So, do you believe there's any? Oh, I'm sorry, Paige. Do you believe in an order?
An order?
Do you believe in order to the universe?
Can you define order?
I believe that there is
the opposite of chaos.
I believe that
that's okay. That's
okay. Let me answer the question, Domo. I believe that there are physical laws of our universe. So there doesn't have to be order per se, but things have to. It appears because it appears that these are constants. Even though we have some other things that do shift over time. There are some constants like the mass of a proton, the mass of an electron. So in that sense, you can call that, I don't know if I'd call it order, I would call it consistency. Those seem to be foundational. And we can't explain.
I'm sorry for interrupting. That's my bad.
We can't explain why they are those particular values. We don't know the explanation.
I still want like a little bit more clarification because that's like not really how definition. Like, can you define order?
Order meaning like. So like when I look at the world, right, like reality around me, I don't see chaos happening. I see, in fact, like when I took biology, I learned about like gene mutations, and a lot of the mutations.
1 second, because you're bringing up chaos, which is just another word that you're using. I don't know how you're using it.
Hold on, let her finish. Let her finish.
Okay.
Well, so what was I on about? I forgot my train of thought.
You were talking about biology.
Okay, yeah. So when I learned about biology, we learned about gene mutations and how usually when gene mutations happen, they're at a detriment to the species that it's mutating. Like usually they're not good mutations. Like that's how we get cancer and stuff. And so whenever I think of order,
that's not true. That's false. True. They can be good. They can be bad. Most often they are indifferent. They don't have a significant effect. So, I would say there's probably a bell curve of they're as good as often as they are bad.
We don't see like genetic mutations that are bad continue because usually if they're bad, that kills the host and they can't like reproduce to like pass that mutation down.
But also not some order because that bad genetic mutation doesn't survive and continue to keep it worse, and only the strong survive.
I mean, can I also maybe if I bring up my definition of order,
I don't think
like,
she's meaning mutation that way.
No, hold on, Dumble, because I mean she's one who's speaking, so we need to understand what she's saying. So her
so basically back to order. So forget about mutations, okay? Back to order. Like there's other things I see order in. Like look at the world around you. Look at like photosynthesis and the way that the ecosystem is working and our bodies are working. Like there's an order to it all, and it all has like its own function, right? And it all works in a way where it all works together, you know, like everything.
I mean,
and if there were chaos, the opposite of order to me is chaos, right? And so chaos would mean that things would not be working in that way. And I think that when you look around, you can see order in the universe, and you can see like otherwise.
As a general rule, things tend to disorder. That's entropy. They tend to break apart. Things get messy. But when you have energy that can be added to a system, that can maintain complexity and order. So we live in an environment that has a source of energy to be added. The universe is tending toward disorder. It is expanding, which is a lower entropy position, and it seems to want to continue to expand indefinitely, which would be the worst case scenario of minimal order or maximal disorder, I should say.
The problem is like I'm still a little lost on how you're defining order, because you did just say to look around me, and then you use the word in the definition. Because to me, order is just low rate of change, and then chaos is high rate of change.
Well, to me, order is like patterns and functions. And
I was going to say chain reactions that are all going accordingly, right? A domino effect that got us to right now, where we can converse about not only history, but existence.
Yeah, I mean, look at the phone in your hand. That's order, you know? Look at,
Function's a good word. Function is a very good word.
Yeah. Thank you. I came up with that.
I just have, like, a question. Where does this order lead us to?
Well, okay.
It leads to increasing complexity, in my opinion.
There you go. I'm going to let Dream take it from here. My baby's crying.
So, if you look at our models of the beginning and not the beginning of the universe, but the state of the universe at its infancy, we see like basically it's chemical soup, pre-biology. Then you go into as things increase in time, they usually increase in complexity as well. So eventually stars form planets. There's a Goldilocks planet, and then we could have conditions for biological life to take hold. But if you look at it as in a grid, in a timeline, you see elements, hydrogen and helium. What we think is the 4n plus 2 rule, basically through nuclear processes. It basically bears out new elements, and we get to what we have in a general sense as our periodic table. But the first up to iron, and we can see the same pattern up to iron and even past, even though it gets a little wonky after iron. But if you see it as in a grid, and you see the complexity of atoms arranged in space, the more you go in time, and as things get biological, that complexity increases by a large degree. And you see the interconnection between those things get more and more complex. Single cell, multi-cell, very complex processes, different types of life, different species, all this stuff. So it seems like, and you can put it on at a societal, like human level. We go hunter-gatherer, agriculture, industrial, technological, information, like the same thing is happening. So it's a increasing complexity is just you could say that is the free energy on the opposite to the entropy in the thermodynamics equation. That's a bad example.
Wait, free energy? No. What do you mean by free energy?
No, it's a bad example. I'm just saying it's it's not opposing entropy, but it's just sort of observable, right? In a general sense.
Complexity does reverse entropy. It does fight entropy, but it comes at a cost. You have to put new energy into a system to maintain the complexity. So there's going to be an upper limit, right? Things will eventually fall apart. Things will eventually die. There's no life that stays permanently. I'm not sure why that is. We seem to have a lifespan. We have telomeres and not telomeres. Is it telomeres? Yeah, we have telomeres at the end of our DNA that limit our lifespan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's telomeres.
Yeah, it's telomeres. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at, say, if you're you have an ore say, copper ore, right? And you're trying to basically heat everything to get a pure copper. So you get rid of the rock and different kinds of things and separate the metal out to get a more purified metal. When atoms vibrate due to heat, things are moving very fast. We observe through like crystallization or recrystallization that the entropy gained or exhibited through those things, it does the reverse of what you'd think. Like as you go colder, basically to 0 Kelvin, which we can't go to, but
we can get close.
Yeah, we can get close and and mathematically sort of try to get as close as we can. But it's not. Things are trying to arrange those. You could look at it as if you're. I'm trying to think of an example. You put your both hands together and you're crossing your fingers into your other hand. So your fingers interlock. Like things want to get to the most ordered place, meaning that all the atoms of copper want to arrange with all the other atoms of copper to make the crystal structure packaging that is best for.
Wait a second. Let's be careful.
Atom.
Let's be careful with the word "want" because they don't want. It is they arrange themselves because the positive charge and negative charges are attracted to each other, so they functionally become.
That's what also, they have more room to work with because you're removing impurities.
Well, see, here's the thing: when there's impurities present, this is what I was getting to. If there is impurities present in the crystal structure, like the packaging that it forms, you get a disorganized, very not a pretty or stable or a strong structure, like when it's represented as an object in whatever you recrystallized. So things want to get to more order because this provides more stability, structure, strength. Just demonstrated with metals.
I just do want to ask, I think Sophia is the one that started bringing up order and chaos and everything. I'm just kind of failing to see how that leads us to a mind or God concept.
Well, don't we have... you don't agree that we don't have conscience and morals?
No. I said God... wait. Do you think that morals and knowledge is like... Do you think God's a necessary precondition for that? Because I think
of course I do.
Because I didn't say the word, maybe you misheard me. I did not say the word conscious or like consciousness. I said God concept.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll answer that if I can, because any type of order would require intelligence, right? You see a rock, and that rock has no function.
What do you define order as?
Let Max finish, please. Then
that's basically the point, that there had to have been. So we can take human intelligence. We can take any example of something that is thinking or processing something. It could be abiogenesis, right? It could be the Big Bang. To me, the Big Bang required order. Abiogenesis required order. The Goldilocks zone required order. So what is this order? Is it an infinite universe that's always been in order, and to us, we see some of the chaos and interpret it as chaos, but even that's order?
Wait, can you give me an example of chaos?
Well, again, chaos is our perception of chaos, right? Maybe a star exploding. A star exploding to us is chaos, right? Something happened,
a star exploding is just natural process.
Star exploding is a very kind of organized thing. I mean, it is a release of energy.
So it's proving my point.
Like, I think the problem is that like with order and chaos, you're seeing like intent behind things.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you see it like that. But we don't have to have that intent. We don't have to use that intent. You're taking it as intent.
Wait, because you were saying that like there's order behind the universe and that there's order behind everything. I do need to know. I want to understand what you mean by order.
We'll take the most chaos ever. The Big Bang, is that chaos or is that order?
No, because it's just natural
I tried to explain that earlier, Dumblebee. I tried to explain this earlier.
Dream. He's using it in a way that like order has intent. Even then you used the analogy of like copper being smelted, but that's also natural processes. Like if a metal heats up and the impurities in it burn away in the ore, it's gonna.
Let's do this. In the timeline
I don't agree. I mean, I think we don't have to diss science or God. That's where I go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
order is.
It's all one and the same.
Order is very.
What did you say?
I said order is very intentional.
Where do you see the intentionality?
I would say order is very detailed, intentional. Yes.
So you're saying order implies
intentionality.
Order implies intentionality.
And his thoughts are so weird.
Sophia, what do you think?
I think Dumblebee is also agreeing to that, right? That's why he doesn't like the word. We don't have to use the word order.
No, I'm not, because order is defined as just low rate of change. And like the examples you're bringing up of chaos is just, it can be explained by natural processes.
No, I even stated that. I even said that what we can interpret as chaos, there might be some order behind it, or there has to be order behind it, right?
Well, that's kind of a convenient cop-out.
No, it's not, because
I'm
what
sorry,
I'm saying is...
but I don't see any intentionality behind it, and you're just saying... are you saying that it's like my perception that's making me think that?
How about this? When does intent come into play? When in the history
let's get a little more specific, Max, on examples so that we can drill down on this, because we're talking in such broad generalities here that it's hard to make any.
Wait, guys, I gotta go to bed. I just wanted to say bye, and thank you for your time.
Nice seeing you, Sophia.
Nice to meet you, and also Phil. I can tell that you love humanity. I can tell by the way that you communicate, and I appreciate the way that you do it. So have a good night, and God bless.
Take care of that baby.
I will. Good night, guys.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Phil, I guess your name is. What did you want an example of?
When rather than use these broad concepts like order and disorder, can we get into examples of what an orderly thing, and then maybe we can get a little more clarity on what we're talking about.
Would you say abiogenesis is orderly or required order?
Like the problem is that you're defining order with intentionality behind it, and I don't think there's any intentionality behind.
I'm not even putting intentionality behind it.
Because you did say that. You did say there's intentionality behind order.
I did, and you disagreed with me. You gave the other definition that. So which is it? I mean.
So which is it, guys?
Intentional order is very purposeful and intentional.
Yes, as a theist, I also agree that it requires intentionality, but Dumblebee is disagreeing, but then he's coming back and saying it is the case. So I don't know. I'm confused.
No, he's saying. Okay.
When did I say that was the case? Yeah. When did I say that was the case?
No. Okay, don't do that, Dumblebee. Just say your position, please.
Yeah,
he may have just misheard. So.
I'm going to say it again. I define order as a low rate of change, and chaos, being the opposite of that, is high rate of change.
Okay, and I can add a little something to that, because I'm not sure if we need a temporal component. We could consider order to be something that is organized without adding a temporal component to it. More organized versus less organized.
I would like that. I would add that too, right? We can say a rock changes, with in a riverbed, it'll slowly get smooth, but there isn't any thought process or anything else happening besides an actual natural process, like the star exploding.
This is an example, right? This is just a basic rock. So think of what the structure of this rock is. It's got whatever 6 different elements to it, and there are trillions of ways that this thing can be put together and still be essentially a round rock, as opposed to the same mass in a crystalline form. If we just took one of those elements and made it into a crystal, one of those is more ordered than the other, right? Because the crystal can only have a certain structure, whereas this is just a mishmash of those elements. So this is less ordered.
It's less ordered, but it's still ordered, right?
Order is
to create what it is.
It's relative. It's a relative thing.
Not only did it have to go through the 14 billion year lifespan of the universe, but it also had to go through landing in Earth, or landing in this area, going through some riverbed, or somebody polishing it, putting it through the process of being round, and then falling into your hands and us being able to talk about it. So it's a special rock.
We'll use this one.
Well, I think that is relative. I think, Phil's been saying that's relative, but I do not see how that implies intentionality.
Yeah, and
now let's change it, right? Because we use the rock. That's a good example, right? Which still there's some portion or percentage of order.
Let's go to the pumpkin. Now let's go to the pumpkin.
Now let's get something organic.
It's Halloween, so let's go to the pumpkin.
Now, how ordered is that?
This is more ordered than this is, right? Because this has a certain pattern. It has a certain
million
structure.
Times more, right?
Say again?
1,000,000 times more.
I don't know. Depends on what kind of metric you put there.
The pumpkin,
but there's a certain shape. If it wasn't this color, it wouldn't be wouldn't call it a pumpkin.
I feel like we're chasing our tails.
No,
we're drilling down on the concept. We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you, Max, are you under the belief that that the pumpkin is designed?
Of course, just like I said, the rock is too. But the pumpkin is more designed, and you said more stuff happening is chaos, but that's pretty organized right there. Right?
I think you're misunderstanding rate of change. Is that pumpkin changing right now?
No, but it obviously went through a higher rate of change than that rock.
I think you're
this has a
misunderstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rhea. Oh, I didn't even realize I was 152. Man. Okay.
Wow. Dumble, how did you get so popular? I'm just kidding.
Because Rhea likes the points I'm making, I think. Okay, so the thing is what? Okay, so what about the pumpkin is designed? What properties make it designed?
I think the question is, what about the pumpkin is more designed than the rock?
Okay, that's fair. So what about the pumpkin is more designed than the rock? What do you think?
Well, I'll give the biggest thing, the biggest attribute that pumpkin has that rock will probably never have is life.
Okay, here's the difference. According to the entropy definition, there are fewer ways to arrange this and it still be a pumpkin than there are for this. There are many, 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 many more ways this can be arranged and still be a rock. But there are fewer ways that this thing can be arranged and still be a pumpkin. That's the difference of the complexity.
Like, okay, if you're asking me how I think it's designed,
is more rare.
So it being more rare, I don't think implies any kind of intentionality, but I would say that if I was going to concede that there is some kind of design, I would say it's, again, natural process that happened over like hundreds of thousands of years that went through all this plant life. But I don't see where the intentionality comes from that, because we see that these natural processes does not have intentionality behind it.
Here's some intentionality behind the pumpkin, because I'm pretty sure that the pumpkin is a genetically modified fruit.
Well, let's not go there. That just complicates.
No, it didn't exist naturally. I'm pretty sure that
it's a can of worms.
Well, let's just say any squash is more complex than the rock.
Now here's my point again, because you gave the entropy reason or answer. Now, my answer was life. The difference between the rock and the pumpkin is one is organic and one is not.
Fair.
That took abiogenesis. That took 3.5 billion years of evolution to get to this pumpkin.
Right.
That rock was still a rock 3.5 billion years ago.
Right.
It never changed. It probably never will.
Wait, one moment.
You're right.
Like, I'm like, Phil, I'm kind of seeing this as a similar argument to people asking why, like, there aren't monkeys turning into humans.
No. Let's stick to order, guys. Let's stick to order.
That's chaos of DNA.
we're onto something, right? We're talking about order and chaos. We have an example, a good example, a rock and a pumpkin, right? We've got to the part that
I am still failing to see any intention of design.
You don't have. Why are you using intention though? You're throwing that
because
in.
Because you guys brought up the word.
We're far from intention. No, you did.
So, Max, is there any intention in getting for this pumpkin to get to be a pumpkin? For the
Well, yeah.
For the atoms in here, is there intention?
If I'm bringing up life as an example of the differences between the two examples, then of course there's intentionality behind that pumpkin.
Okay, wait. No, let's hold on, Dummel.
Yep.
So, to have intention, we need to have a mind, right? Otherwise, it's just function. So is that correct?
We have a conscious mind, yes.
So we know this can exist purely by physics function, physics and chemistry and DNA. We know this does not require a mind to come into existence.
We also know that pumpkin would not exist outside of the Earth, and not on the moon, not on the Mars. Not anywhere else.
Let's get two specific on our examples. We can, you can use this to represent any single-celled organism.
Does that pumpkin have a spirit?
And my statement
Does it have a spirit?
Well,
I don't have a pen. I could draw a face on it.
Okay, let me flip it on you guys. Are you saying that? So your guys' claim is that pumpkin has no order behind it.
I think you're really missing something here.
We're missing that it has order.
No. Hey, Paige, let me finish.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
I have already given out the definition that order is low rate of change. Now I have to ask you, is that pumpkin right there changing in that very moment?
Sure. Yes.
I don't think it is.
More than that rock, 1,000 times.
No, because is that pumpkin changing states?
Yes, 100% it is.
How is it changing states right now?
It's basic biology.
It's going to decay.
Yeah, it's decaying as we speak.
I would say that it's not doing it at a fast enough rate for me to consider it like full 100% chaos. Max,
now you're moving
finish?
The goalposts.
Right. Throw it in the microwave.
1 second. Literally, like 5 seconds. Because you guys, you're putting my point as a black and white. like rate of change isn't like, you know, oh, it can't stay this, like something stays the same forever. That's not what I'm saying. A low rate of change is still happening.
Noble, we have two examples here. We have the rock and the pumpkin.
Let him finish his sentence, please. Go ahead.
I think what you guys are misconstruing my point, and I don't think I'm moving the goalpost. Okay, a rock will stay a rock, and that's order to me. And that pumpkin will stay a pumpkin. Now, whether we define what that pumpkin will become, which is just a rotting, you know, organic matter, like
Lovely.
that's the change. All right, but I'm still I am failing to see where this intentionality comes in, and also I'm failing to see how like order and chaos somehow proves a mind or a god.
I have a hypothesis. A real one.
What's that?
That the pumpkin is like us and our flesh. We are changing over time. We will die. Our flesh will die, right? But our spirit remains.
Hold on. I want to resolve this and move on. So,
but I mean, so the guide is
anybody just hold that thought page though. We'll get back to it. Is anybody saying that there is intention or not? Or
absolutely.
Can we let that go? There is intention here. Paige?
Yes. Yeah,
there's intention. It was planted. The seed grew.
Explain how there's intention. This could just be a weed. This could just be a weed. So
if it was a weed, it still was a seed.
Okay, fine. So it was a seed
created into whatever, say, the pumpkin is, and it is changing, but it is a
so it came
an order of things, right?
It came from a seed.
Yeah.
So it could be in the wild. So there's still no intention here.
Can I give it some intention? Whether or not...
I'm going to come to you next, Max. Let's give Paige a shot at this and see how far she goes.
Well, it's intentionally, purposely becoming a pumpkin. I mean, it's the order of things.
That's because of the structure of the DNA that it contains. It'll grow into a pumpkin.
Right, that's an order.
But that's not intention. That's orderly function. Okay, so Max...
Well, that's where you say science versus just...
Okay, no, that's fair. Yeah. So, Max, take a shot at it. Is there intention here? Demonstrate that there's intention.
Yeah, I could take a few angles, but I think the angle that I'll take is that the 14 people on the live and the 4 people discussing it is intention alone.
Okay, now we don't poll the audience for reality, okay? You said you had a way to explain. I want to move on to another topic.
I'll take the other approach. The other approach is that pumpkin is end up going to be compost for something. It's going to feed some bacteria. It probably is right now. So there's that pumpkin probably has 1,000 different purposes.
So
by the time
that's function. That is not intention. I could eat it and turn it into, proteins and things to keep my eyes healthy or whatever. That's function. That's not intention.
To me, that right there, you holding it and it being part of somebody's reality, discussing it definitely has intention in that aspect.
But there's no intention in it coming into being. That's what we're trying to get at. Yes.
Well, the billions of other pumpkins out there, maybe some did and some didn't.
Well, that's determinism. Determinism is not intention. Determine is just a sequence of events that just naturally happens.
Well, again, then, I'll do this. I'll take a step back because the intention of this pumpkin is irrelevant. I think the order that it has more order than the rock is another thing. That I think was the original topic.
Let's move on to a different topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's do what Paige was doing. We'll do this, and because my end goal was to take that pumpkin and turn it into human intelligence.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What was that?
Sorry, my phone went off. But yeah, I want to take that pumpkin and try to change it to human intelligence.
So you're going to make an analogy to human intelligence? Go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I think that human intelligence is the ultimate.
Where's the pumpkin's heart?
Doesn't have a heart.
Well,
sorry. Go ahead, Max. I'm sorry. I'm playing with the thing.
I think he's taking a call. But I will say, because I also wanted to add in what I believe, and you, Phil, you put it into the words. I think that, and they finally understood it, because I also believe in. I'm not saying that you do, but you brought it up. Determinism. I believe in determinism. And that's what I mean by natural processes. It's a sequence of events that happen. I don't see any intentionality behind things just happening.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there.
And that's what I'm asking you. You gotta show intentionality. And then you're like, well, it's just like Max was just bringing up, well, it's just there, and you have that specific pumpkin. And
okay. We're done. Dumble.
Awesome.
We're done with that topic. There seems to be no intention to the pumpkin.
Oh yeah, Center Life saying the pumpkin's scared. Do you see it's scared, Nate? Sacred nature.
It's a happy smile.
It said sacred. I misread it. It said sacred.
Sacred?
Yeah.
Well, it's sacred to me to the degree that I can turn it into a pie. Then I considered it to be of higher value. So that's one of the things I could do with a pumpkin that I can't do with a rock.
Just think, we are made in God's image. Just think of what He's thinking about us.
Well,
and what we do.
He made us this way. He made us this way. He made me so.
I know.
Well, I mean, I can get into how you have to presume a lot of things and have a ton of presuppositions to believe that claim, but
to believe that there's a God.
Well, that he made us in our image. That's a claim that's in the Bible, and that's presupposing that the Bible is true, and that is the biblical. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm fixing to probably go. I got to go to work tomorrow. But I was just gonna say thanks for letting me on, and I just feel like that God is real, and He made us intentionally on purpose, and He does love us, and He loves science. But I do believe that life is more than just science. I believe we're spiritual, and I serve a spiritual God that loves us and loves you guys. And so, anyway, this has been a fun live.
This has been a fun one. Thank you, Paige. I appreciate you.
Thank you for entertaining me. And
it's been fun tonight,
yeah. So. Well, we'll talk to y'all later.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. So I'm gonna be wrapping up fairly soon here. Depends on what Max has to say. Max, did you have anything else you wanted to cover? There seemed to be pretty quiet in the background here, so.
I don't know how it ended or what the response was, but I'll catch you one of these days. You're one of the chillest atheists out there, man. Much love to you.
Thank you. I'm trying to be. All right, well then we'll just wrap it up. Thank you, Dumblebee.
Good night. Double, good talking to you, man. Hopefully, we'll get to talk one of these days. And man, respect to you, man.
Yep.
So it's been a good night. It's been a fun night. It's been a good night for the holiday. So I've got one more show before Halloween. So I don't know what I'm going to do that's more silly than this one. I guess I'll have to put up a face or something for the next show.
Get like a filter.
Yeah. I gotta figure out how to do a filter and a background at the same time. I'm not sure if you can do that.
I think on videos you can add multiple effects, but I don't have enough followers to go live.
Well, you'll get there. You seem to have a very strong interest in it, and I support you in that. So everybody else here, follow Dumblebee also. So let's build him up a little bit too.
Yeah,
so you definitely.
I also gotta gotta upload videos to actually get followers.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, please. This is the last week. Remember to go vote. Take care of each other. Be kind to each other. You see how we do it here. Hopefully this is a good example that we can have discussions and get along without screaming at each other and being mean and stuff. So
I try. I'm sorry. This is like one of the nicer lives I go on, and I'm trying to be nicer. I'm really bad at really ripping into people. So
yeah, well, you come here to hone that skill, I guess. Thanks for the follow, Robert. Thanks for the follow.